Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. So today's video is a album review on Autechre's in Incunabula. I guess that's how you pronounce it. I always just say their 1993 album, Incunabula. So it's funny because today I was getting ready, dressing, and I was like, I'm gonna put on my Autechre shirt, and I was like, oh, I guess that announces what I'm going to do video-wise today. So I'm going to review their first album, and then also I'll do a separate interview on Autechre and kind of run through their albums and some of my favorite music by them. This is a big album for me, and my history, and really, I would say in some ways it didn't set me off on going towards IDM, but the thing about Autechre is, and the Aphex Twin as well, is, but even more so Autechre, is they really kind of teach you in a way how to have selective listening, and be able to, it kind of teaches you to focus on certain sounds, and it lends itself to the way the production is, and you like certain sounds. And some people, like when you play Autechre for somebody, and it might have maybe an annoying sound to somebody who's listening, but then you're like, well, listen to underneath, listen to the bass line, listen to the other stuff, and they're just like, they just can't get by that one particular sound that might annoy them, right? But that's the thing with Autechre, and the kind of the IDM style is there's different things to listen to, and there's juxtapositions of a fast beat or a slow beat and a melody that kind of offsets it, or some kind of percussion line or bass line or something like that kind of offsets it and allows you to kind of refocus, and while the rhythm is still going. A lot of times what might maybe bother somebody about listening to somebody like Autechre is maybe the fast percussion. And that really, when you're listening to Autechre, that's kind of like you're focusing in on the song, and sort of the rhythm. And the rhythm in some ways is sort of behind you. And I think that's kind of what lends itself to being so futuristic, is because it's kind of like the rhythm is behind you, and you're looking through that into the future, and you're kind of seeing where the potential is, or where the song is going, or something like that. It really, I used to think that in a lot of ways, like I was like, I'm listening to the future. I just re-listened to this album for the first time in probably maybe like 2 years or something like that. It's been a couple of years since I listened to it, but there was a couple times where, like, you're listening to the future. Like, that's all you can. That's only the way to describe it, is like it's so good that you're listening to the future. And obviously it's going to be for the most part a very strong review, and maybe that's why I felt like doing this, because because I grabbed the shirt, and then also I kind of wanted to start off with some, if I was going to start doing some reviews on albums, which I wasn't going to plan till 2025. I really wanted to do all the band's videos first, and then start doing some albums, and then sort of catching up on what I listened to the last 25 years or so, and not so much stuff that I focused on my first 25 years. I'm going to be 49 next year, so I kind of wanted to have two halves of videos, and maybe by the time I got to like 50 years old, if I'm doing this channel for a year and a half, that once I get to 50 years old, I can kind of look back, and hopefully I'll have a good balance of early stuff and then later stuff. I kind of think of my first 25 years as learning the ropes, and finding out what I like, and finding out what's out there, and being encouraged by friends, and going to the record stores and stuff like that. And then the second half is really kind of, purchasing online, and maybe buying music a little differently, and hearing music differently, because I'm, in a way, sort of in the industry, I suppose, in some ways. So maybe I'll hear about some things maybe before others do, that maybe don't pay attention as much as I do, or you hear about things, or maybe I have a friend that's releasing something, or a label that I really follow, and And then also tied to that is in the last 25 years I've become more of a DJ than the first. Although I was a DJ for probably like, as soon as I could remember, probably like 12 years old. I mean, that's 10 years old. This is much. I've always wanted to be a radio DJ in those days, and not necessarily the talking part, because I'm not fantastic with the talking part, but just presenting shows and curating the music and doing the music sequencing and stuff like that. I've always enjoyed doing that part and kind of behind the scenes and of course the audio and the fidelity and component stereos and everything that comes with it that I really enjoy. So I thought the second half would kind of be, kind of a nice juxtaposition of my first 25 years. And, it's just, I have a feeling that I'm just going to kind of do some albums here and there, as we go on. So I thought I might wait a little bit and have just do the bands first, but I'm going to squeeze in some albums here and there for sure. And maybe even, I think the plan is to if I get something new and then to listen to, because I don't do that often. I take quite a long time to how many listens and letting it soak in and over years and stuff like that, and kind of come back to it and forgetting about it, and then coming back and then sort of analyzing in a different way music that I get that is new. So maybe I won't do a lot of new albums, but I'm sure there will be. I'll throw in an album and just review it. That's probably when I feel a little bit more comfortable with doing that. But I wanted to start, if I was going to do some reviews, to do some not necessarily classics, but although this is definitely a classic, but excuse me, just some ones that I know well. This album came out in 1993, so bear with me while I went song by song and read the notes and reviewed them and gave them all individual track scores and then an overall score. But just a little back history. This is I still have the couple CDs. I have the TBT version and the Warp version. Somewhere along the line, I lost my TBT version. Maybe my brother borrowed it and left it, but that's, if I ever come across it, I usually buy another one. The artwork is kind of minimalistic. It kind of has a little blurry kind of graph type feel, which is very Autechre. Nothing. I don't think this album jumps out at anybody with the cover, but it's certainly recognizable if you know Autechre and I really like the AE on the front, which not all of them, I believe, have the AE on the front. This one's a little bit more dull on the AE. Maybe it is on all of them, but I just, I didn't see it as much as on this one as I did on this one. The Warp one's a little bit differently. Here's the original album. The original version. This is the reissue here, so you can see on that one it says AE. I think this came out in 2018 or 2019, the reissue, and this is kind of an original one here. I think the inside is, but this doesn't really have the AE is on it. You can see it kind of maybe shining in that light there, or shining off because it's in silver, but it's a little even lighter on this one. You can only see it in certain angles. So, and then the silver lining down here, the wording is super, super clean. Looks really cool. The more you look at it, the more you see that goes into it. You can definitely see that more on the album, of course, than the vinyl, right? So kind of getting into the album. So it's not fitting in this cover that well. So, some people call this IDM, and the term is what it is. It's not necessarily I don't know if I fully. I mean, I do consider this IDM. But in a lot of ways, this is very ambient techno, and just techno in general. Um, I would imagine like because there's a little bit of ambient in here too for sure, but you could almost say like a post rave, but I would stay clear of saying that. But it is kind of that chill out scene, you know what I mean? That kind of it's tied to artificial intelligence series in a way, and Warp Records, and they certainly have that term and that description for a lot of the other albums around that time and around that and similar. Um, but to me, it's almost just ambient techno more so than IDM. The IDM is skittery and is as maybe fast and it's a very analog album still. It's not as digital sounding as later IDM. So in those ways, I don't really fully consider IDM in the way that you would listen to something in 2000 that was IDM from another artist. That there's I mean, Autechre and Aphex Twin just spun off so many people like them that made that style and just kind of evolved in that style. And you also have drum and bass and drill and bass and of course IDM, like I said, and then you have down tempo in there and just techno, and there's electro in there and stuff. They all can be kind of intertwined with each other. So when I look at the songs, so the first song is called I guess it's called Cowpole Intro, which is basically an intro. So I'm sort of reading my notes, so bear with me. The strange thing is it almost announces that an album in some kind of like alien language that this album's here and it's ready to amaze you. Especially if you know the album, you know what's coming after it. It kind of signals like you're listening to Incunabula. It's just like instantly recognizable, and it just kind of like announces its presence. Just that in itself, knowing what's coming, it kind of raises the individual score for that track in a way. But having said that, it's nothing great as far as intro. It's good. It's like a little bit over 3 minutes. I give it 3 stars out of 5 for being an intro, what it is. And when I do scores on albums, it's 3 stars isn't necessarily very. 3 stars isn't necessarily good for me. It's very good. I would almost put 2 stars is good and 1 star is bad, because anything in my collection that I'm going to review and that I'm going to score is probably going to be above a 2 at least, unless there's something that I really hate on that I have on that's on another song on a record or something like that. But generally, it's going to start at 2, and 2 is going to be good, and 3 is very good. 4 is excellent, and then it goes up to 5, which is a really hard to say, but I guess maybe a perfect track. And then it's also based on the genre. So I'm rating that a 3. The intro is a 3 stars based on other intros, and that's kind of, so not only am I rating songs, but I rate songs based on their genre. So what's a 4.5 in IDM may be better than a 4.5 in techno. It just, it would, I'm trying to be more exact with my ratings, and I do like to get, because I want to be more granular with rating things and comparing things. And it's hard to compare apples and oranges, right? So I try to get more granular in comparing apples to apples. I think that's kind of a better way for me to do it, because I can compare an intro to another intro. I can't necessarily compare an IDM 5-star track to an electro track and tell you which one's better for in their genres. They're the best of the best, but it'd be hard for me to say one's better than the other when they're different tracks, different eras, different artists, different. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to like compare them to their own genre, if that makes sense. So yeah, that intro I gave it 3 stars. That's solid. And then comes Bike. The second track is I wrote here, in a way, it almost seems like the true intro. I think a lot of times I've listened to this album so many times that I'll just skip to two because the intro, it doesn't really do too much, and you're just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna get right to the first song. It has a great rhythm pattern, a bass line. One of the things I really like about this particular Autechre album is there is a lot of bass lines. For those that don't know Autechre, and I think it's the creative thing about them and what makes them so unique is you would think of somebody who does such exact music and such electronic music, but they actually come from a hip hop background. In the late '80s, they were doing mixtapes and they were into hip hop before they really got into electronic music. So bass lines were super important in the early days. There's certainly some deeper bass notes in here that are like Low Ride, for example. 444, which has a really deep bass line, deep bass note, which sounds like an 808 kick, really deep bass. It's just they come from a little more hip hop. So it's the down tempo, I would say, in there is probably inspired by their hip hop and listenings and things like that, but they have a different perspective than maybe coming from techno and then doing IDM music. So I think that kind of what makes them kind of creative in a way, and maybe a little bit. They have a different perspective because they come from a different background. So yeah, Bike. It just shows how important bass lines can be in IDM, because you just don't. A lot of artists don't necessarily have a lot of bass lines in IDM. There's a jittering beat. There's melancholy melodies or what have you, rhythms certainly, but strange sounds, unique sounds, different patterns and things like that, but not necessarily bass lines all that much. And I think that's what makes this album so really kind of I wouldn't say it stands the time as much as like Amber or Try or their later stuff, because it is very analog, but I think it lends itself to being a little bit more of a unique listen, and the bass lines help with that as well, because they're very they sound very analog. I've also put halfway through the melody hits and it just rides out in just like perfect beauty, just so relaxing and so peaceful. Then it really all comes back together at the end, and it's just like sublime in such a peaceful way, and just kind of fades out. I give this track 4 stars. It's a great track. It's a great track. It's a classic. It feels like the first song on the album again. Then you have the third track is Autechre, which is Autriche. I wrote the most about this one just because there's a lot going on. It starts off with an eerie melody. There's this kind of a girl in the background that's sort of talking in Japanese, it sounds like. I think this is the first real sign of the album that when you're listening to it, that you're hearing something unique and something special. Or at least something different, at least, right? There's different things that clash in unity, a strange melody, a warm bass hits, organic IDM rhythm section, the floating melody. You can really focus on any individual sounds and their patterns, and that's kind of what I was saying about, in a way, it kind of teaches you how to be, to have selective hearing. This is a perfect example of that, because there's so much going on, but it's so peaceful at the same time. So it's on certain multiple levels. It's selective hearing, and not just like sounds, but then also moods. So you'd think like it would be upbeat because some things are fast, but then the melody's kind of keeping you back and keeping things reserved as well. It's a fairly simple song, but it's done amazing. I gave it 4.5 stars. So right off the bat, you have, basically the first 2 songs are 4 and 4.5. So just amazing album overall. Then you have another sort of segue track. It's called Bronchus 2. Kind of sounds like there's a shooting gallery happening in space. Just really cool sounds. I got that with a 3 stars as well. Not too much happening in it, just some really cool sounds. I probably like it a little bit better than the first one, but I gave it the same score because the first one's important because it's, again, it's a little bit more recognizable because it's the intro and kind of more familiar and kind of exciting in that way because it's, what's coming versus this song that probably a lot of people just fast forward. So going on to Bass Cadet, so this is a single on the album. I do have the single here, which has some fantastic remixes on here. I think I also have, here's the, I think this is the promo copy, which I think came on TBT and Wax Drive Records. Again, some great remixes here. Bill Montana's remix is awesome. Seafield's remix is awesome. The extended version of Bass Cadet's awesome. Bass Cadet remix. Just a really cool, love the artwork too, which is, I think a lot of newer Autechre is kind of missing some color. Although the albums are bright, one color, and this has got a bright one color too. But I just kind of feel like this one's, a little bit more unique because it's got, some less kind of. Exact patterns and things like that, which becomes kind of a theme with Autechre. This one's a little bit more, kind of floaty, kind of spacey. I wouldn't even say aquatic, but definitely more. I think a little bit more unique than some of the later stuff. Although it's all interesting to look at. It's just it's nice to see a little bit of color in some of the releases. So Bass Cadets is the single from the album, and it's just it's like frantic, powerful, aggressive. It feels like you're listening to the future. That's like I was saying earlier. This is the kind of track I was thinking about when I said that. The bass notes are insane. The sounds throughout are really amazing. The melody, the bass, it really has everything. It's not too long, not too short. It's 5.5 minutes. It's just 5 minutes and 23 seconds worth of just power. I just love how it ends with the acid sounding, kind of broken down and just kind of meandering out. Is super cool. It's just such a powerful song. It's kind of like if you wanted to show somebody like what IDM music was. I mean, it might be like the quintessential track because it's that powerful. I give it 4.5 stars, so it's equal to Autechre. It'd be really hard to pick a favorite on a few of these. Just so strong. Then you have Eggshell, which is I just have the one and only. I think I said perfect 3 times in this review on this song. It's such a clean mechanical beat. There's one thing that I specifically love about it, and the percussion elements sort of start out clangy, and then some sort of sound like shooting stars, and then some of the stars like sort of sound like it hits something, and then some sort of like just kind of fade out, and then as the song gets to the break, and the stars start to shimmer out differently with different echoes, and again hitting things, and it's kind of like it's just perfect genius. It's just like the percussion becomes like a bunch of shooting stars, like ringing off certain things. It's amazing. And then the obviously the break comes for those that know the song, and the builds the anticipation is just has you on pins and needles. Drop out the bass, and then comes like the most perfect melody, and then most icy melodic melody, and then just the break comes back. And if there's anything, maybe the song's a little too long. It's like 8.5 minutes. Maybe it goes on for like a minute too long or something like that, but I don't think anybody really minds that a great track goes on a little bit long. I got it with a perfect 5 stars. Like I will be very rare to give a 5 star, but Eggshell gets it, and deservedly so. And I'm And I was actually, before I got to it, I was like, am I going to give Eggshell a 5 star? It's like, I don't know, man. I feel like, and then I listened to it and I was like, it just brought back all the memories of listening to that track. I think I first heard this album probably in 1998, I want to say, when I was 22 years old. Somewhere around that. I remember, I think I bought it at Virgin Megastore. It was in Glendale. Or no, no, Sherman Oaks, the Virgin Megastore on Glendale, and I think it was in the Glendale Galleria. I found a lot of CDs there. That Virgin record store was one of the biggest in the West Coast, and I was lucky to be around some really strong record stores in LA. That was some of the best Tower records. The one in Canoga Park, or I'm sorry, the one in Northridge. Actually, in Northridge, actually, there was some great record stores. I was next to the particular warehouse that was on off of Balboa Boulevard. That was a great warehouse. And then, if you guys remember Warehouse Records, just kind of a LA West Coast thing. And then, which I think Warehouse closed probably 2000 or something like that. But man, they had Warehouse was great through the 80s. That was one of the first record stores I hit the most. And then, yeah, there was a Tower Records off on, I think it was Nordoff, on the other side of Northridge Mall. And that was really strong Tower. And then there was a few Tower, I think, on Ventura Boulevard, and then the Virgin Megastore was on Ventura Boulevard, also in the Galleria. But those 4 record stores were all within like 7 miles from me when I was in Northridge and Sherman Oaks, and so I was really lucky to be around those, and that's kind of where I got a lot of my CDs in those times, because they weren't carrying a lot of records, and so I was able to get a lot of CDs during those probably 5 or 6 years, from like '94 to 2000. So yeah, Eggshell, 5 stars. Amazing track. Doctrine comes in next. The first sound always puts me off because Eggshell is such a beautiful ending and such a beautiful track, and then Doctrine kind of comes in with that kind of, kind of sound, and it kind of puts me off listening to the song. But it is kind of underrated in a song, in a way, because a lot of times, if there was any song that I would fast forward to, it'd be this one. The melody comes in, it all makes sense, it's powerful, it's pretty straightforward, it doesn't change too much, considering. I gave it 3 stars. It's good. It's good. It's just it's surrounded by a lot of better stuff, though, and it kind of, yeah. And if I wouldn't say it feels out of place, but it's if there's one drawback of this album is it's 76 minutes long. It's a long listen. There's 11 tracks. In that way, and that I think that does kind of hurt the cohesiveness and the want to listen to it all in a row. It's hard to give something your attention for, some of the best albums are in between 40 and 50 minutes, maybe 55 minutes, but here we're talking 76 minutes, so another 30 to 35 minutes long. It's pushing your attention span, and for that reason, it kind of gives the CD a little bit of a drawback in a way, because it is a hard listen to all the way through, because it's just so long. I gave Doctrine 3 stars. Then there's Maetl. It's Maetl. More mechanical sounds. The melody is kind of similar to Autechre in a way. It's soothing, even though it has a lot going on. A lot more abrasive sounds, yet it's still peaceful. This kind of reminds me of a track that's more on Amber than this one. I gave it 3 1/4 stars, so it's still very good. Then I got Wind. It's a little long at 11 minutes. It's really good. It's relaxing, spacing, meandering, nice layering melodies. I gave it a 3.5 stars. It's kind of lost on the album in a way. It's like if you listen to the song and then that's all you listen to, it's a good song. It's kind of more like Fax Records type ambient stuff than maybe even Autechre stuff. I feel like if they would have left a couple of these out, this one, maybe Maetl or Doctrine, like maybe left out one or at least, or maybe even two of the three, that the album would be so much more cohesive and not as long. But they're all good songs. It kind of gets a little long. Those three tracks in a row after having such a high of Eggshell too. And then it closes out really strong with the last two tracks. So you got Low Ride. It's got a great deep bass, really cool sounds, great melody. It's really soothing. Breakdown melody is unique and different. I got it 4.5 stars. It's a classic track. I love the deep bass notes and the kind of unique melody and kind of the boom 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 boom. It's kind of like it's like a country kind of, I don't know, kind of hokey kind of sound on the break, and then it kind of comes back into the groove and stuff. It's super unique. 4.5 stars. Low Ride's great. And then lastly, the track 444. So it's just an all-out audio assault. It's just everything: melody, bass, percussion, sequencing. It's just everything thrown at you, just and dialed up to like 11. It's just, again, it feels like you're hearing the future. I wrote that it's just anthemic. I wrote that it's like hearing the future. I got it 4.5 stars as well. It's just awesome track. So that's 2, 3, 4. Was that 6 tracks? So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 tracks above 4. That's super strong. And then 5 of them are at 4.5 stars out of 5. It's just an amazing album. Just an amazing album. It'd be interesting to see if now that I really kind of comparing this, I want to say Amber. I think I'll probably rate Amber a little bit higher because it's a little more cohesive as an album. The interesting one is Tri Repete, because I heard Tri Repete as a double album, which includes Garbage and Anvil, and I always rate that one like equal to Amber and Incunabula, but I'm gonna have to just rate it as Tri Repete, and it's the first CD or the 10 songs, and take out. Yes, but that'll help me kind of focus in on the album a little bit more than having two 70-minute albums to try to try to balance all together and rate. So that'll be interesting. I'll probably do those albums as well. I'm not sure what other Autechre albums I might do. We'll see as it gets in. I don't want to do too much on here. I could do a lot. But yeah, I think overall I got this album at a 90 out of 100. It's excellent. It's right on the excellent, right on the plateau of 90 to 100. I think if you took off like 1 or 2 tracks, and it was shortened a little bit up and make the other songs even stronger because there's less to go through. Maybe take out 1 of the 2 intros. Maybe just have the 1 intro. I think it could push 93, 94, 95 probably. It's there's nothing to fault in it except for it's too long. It's just 76 minutes. There's a couple good tracks, very good tracks. Doctrine, I feel like, kind of bothers me a little bit with that sound. It's just that sound that annoys me, just because it's after such a beautiful track like Eggshell. But these are very small things I'm picking apart here, trying to find some way not to give it even higher score. But that's, I think everything has a little bit of room improvement that they could have done differently. I'm sure if they listened to their own album, they would say, "Oh, I wish we would have done that or added that," and then in their own mind, they would have gave the album even a higher score or been more perfect for them. And that's the great thing about art. You only have you really only got one shot to put it out, and then it's for everybody to review and critique and enjoy and discuss, right? So that's the great thing about art, and that's why I love music so much. Is you can talk about it for, what am I on, 45 minutes right now, talking about 34 minutes talking about one album right now. So just an amazing album. I'm curious if you've heard the album. What would you score it out of 100? And what are your top? What's your top maybe two tracks or even top three tracks on this album? And do you think this is the best Autechre album? I'd be interested to see what your thoughts are. Comparatively to the other stuff. So, thanks for watching. Also, I do have a video on Autechre, on their whole discography and my collection of theirs, kind of going over their remixes and stuff like that. Might be a little bit longer video, hopefully not, but it won't be in depth on one video, on one album as this. But I'm just going to touch on all their music and kind of show you all their good music and talk about it. But if you want to check that out, just searching this will be the same day, if this happens to be a later video. I'm going to hopefully organize some of these videos. I got ones about artists and then album reviews. So this will be in the album review section. So yeah, check in there if you want to see some other reviews that I'll be doing. But if you want to see the Autechre, it'll be under their artist discography conversations. I think it's called artist discographies or artist, yeah, something like that. Artist reviews or something like that. Yeah, but that's kind of my videos on all things when I'm encompassing all one artist. So, all right. So thanks for joining me on Electric Cafe. Have a good day.